Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching Discussion Today with me, Tina Jha. Today we are going to take up an issue that is the subject matter of debate these days, and that is regulating social media platforms. Especially in recent months, there's been a lot of sound and fury over the conduct of social media platforms. The question is why? So let me explain it to you. Social media platforms describe themselves as technological platforms or intermediaries that empower people to exercise their right to self-expression and also the right to information. They claim they do not create their own content and therefore are not responsible for what the users produce. And on this basis, they claim exemption from libel, defamation, and other laws and regulations that govern traditional media like newspapers and television. However, recent events like the massive violence on Republic Day indicate the rampant misuse of social media platforms, especially like Facebook and Twitter. The technological tool has today become a platform to spread hate and also create violence. And this, of course, is a huge cause of concern. Given the unprecedented increase in the use of hate speech, false and misleading news, danger to public order, defamatory and offensive posts, and other criminal activities on social media, there is a growing need for regulating these platforms. So this is what we are going to discuss on the show today. The question that we will ask our experts is it time to set legal boundaries for social media companies? To answer this and also discuss other aspects related to the subject, we are joined by two special guests on the program. Let me introduce them to you. We have with us Mr. Suvidat Sundaram, he is Advocate Supreme Court, and Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee, cyber technology expert. Welcome to this edition of Discussion Today, gentlemen. Mr. Sundaram, let me begin the program today with you. So as I stated in my introduction as well, that social media platforms, of course, are a significant force on the internet today. But looking at their rampant misuse in the wake of recent events, the violence that happened on the Republic Day, they, of course, it's quite evident that they have become platforms which are sort of fueling hatred, division in society, also leading to law and order problems. So in that context, can we say that in the garb of freedom of expression, these platforms today are testing the legal boundaries of free speech?
Well, I totally agree that, considering the present times, social media has, become so rampant that, each and everybody has got a smartphone, and we can express our viewpoints, or, we have every right to express our opinions, and that too in a very free manner. So therefore there should be a control, and right now the challenge for the machinery is that the fake news is being spread, and we don't have a control over that. And if you consider hate speech, that is also a major challenge for the legal system, because when you talk about legal law, this hate speech has not been defined, and therefore it may create a lot of problem. That what amounts to hate speech, or where is the boundary that need to be drawn between speech and hate speech. So these are the challenges that we have on text, legal text, as well as in reality. When it comes to the trial, or conducting the case of police, or the magistrate take cognizance, again there is a problem that the legal system has. That is, conviction rates are abysmal low, because we don't have a proper mechanism to, in fact, adjudicate, because there is no proper authority that deals with these specific cases. Because recently there was a case filed in Supreme Court which sought for establishing a tribunal, media tribunal, wherein cases against media or any channel or social media, including social media, could be tried. So these are the new developments that would be, bringing some hope. And but the fact remains the same, that as on date, legally speaking, there is a lot of lacuna. There is a lot of gaps that need to be filled. Law is missing. Although we have some provisions in IPC, say sedition or maybe like anything against the interest of the nation, if it is spread deliberately. So those are penalizing offense. But
Yes.
directly, there is no law that put a check on these offenses. And
Well, so
therefore,
how this
it is
legal
high.
framework can be strengthened, how the existing gaps can be fulfilled, we'll come back to you and understand on, what all aspects that are before the government. Coming to you, Mr. Bhattacharjee, that it's established that these social media platforms, what they claim that they are technological platforms, internet intermediaries who do not create content and therefore they're not responsible for what the users are producing. That, of course, is not the case anymore. So is it time that they be reclassified because they are fulfilling the role of media houses, publishing houses? They actually be brought into the category of media and be treated like that?
Yeah, thank you, Tina, for having me in the show. Basically, if you see the Information Technology Act 2000, the role of intermediaries as defined in Section 79, that underwent a change. In fact, the amendment happened after the very famous arrest of the CEO of Bazi.com. It was in 2004. And after that, when the expert committee looked at it, and then the IT Act, Amendment Act was passed in 2008, the responsibility of intermediaries was finally defined, and which is that they do not have a direct role in the inception, transmission, and reception of any content through their network. So that's where their role as intermediaries were defined and very well defined. Now, over all these years, as we can see, especially with Facebook, Twitter, and of course also with a platform like a messaging platform like WhatsApp, a lot of hatred flows, a lot of unwanted content, threatening in nature, all sorts of negative elements flow very fast and have now become a menace. Over you can say over the last decade, it's the propensity of such negative content and the threat nature of such kind of content has increased. So now, from a legal standpoint, I think, of course, a lot of changes have already been thought for by the government. In fact, if I take you to the intermediary guidelines of December 2018, which the government had brought forward, a lot of responsibility was already being put on this social media platform.
And but these have not been implemented yet?
Not yet. So that is where I feel that the government should immediately get into it, because if you see, along with the Section 79, the rules that define how the intermediaries function were notified in April 2011. Now, that entailed a lot of responsibility upon the social media, the intermediaries, where they had to take cognizance, if it was notified by the government or government agency or judicial, pronouncements and all.
Okay.
Now, by and large, even if you go before that, till date, law enforcement have always had a problem with all the social media entities whenever they ask for, specific information on even the large ones. They have always, found a pretext to not provide anything that is sought by law enforcement.
And why is it so? Because they claim that their servers are not based in the country?
Yeah, that is one part, and they always, that's one. And then, of course, they used to claim that they are bound by the laws of California, and hence, this has been going on for a long time. In spite of the mutual legal agreement treaties in place, there have been problems. Now, the question is that when these large platforms have some of their maximum followers in this country, for example, Facebook's largest number of people anywhere in the world are in this country.
Yes.
Likewise, T-Twitter has a huge number of people, and it's very active platform. Now, when such numbers we have, and the issue at hand is something that they also have to cooperate with, and that cooperation has not been, forthright coming, I think we need to look at how do we regulate it far much closely. And that's where the intermediary rules, the amendments that were being sought, that become very, very crucial for implementation, because there the provisions that have been put in will entail a responsibility on the platform. You couldn't now, or in this age and time, with so many incidents happening, with so many provocative posts floating around, you cannot leave it up to them to a point where, that if they don't have a role, then, they are not liable. I think we have to ensure that they themselves ensure that they have people who monitor their networks, and by and large, wherever see such kind of content floating around, they have to take responsibility and take it off or shut it off. I think some semblance they have done in the US also during the current elections or post-elections scenario. I think so they have to be far much more responsible towards the interests of this country. They
Definitely.
have separate rules for Europe. They notify you something else. So somewhere now we have to pull our strings and tell them, that my way and the highway approach cannot work anymore. You have to be responsible.
Absolutely.
And the best way is to get those rules in place.
So, Mr. Sundaram, when we talk about regulating a lot of negative content that is being generated on social media today, of course, it's hampering the social fabric of our country. It's disturbing law and order. So in that aspect, if we look at the legal framework, Mr. Bhattacharjee spoke about some guidelines that the government came up with in 2018 that, of course, has not been implemented yet. The current legal framework, if we look at, what are the acts under which the social media platforms can be regulated?
See, right now the challenge is we have Information Technology Act in place. Then we have Indian Penal Code also. Section 124A talks about sedition. Section 153A talks about promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, etc. So therefore, anything or everything that you say on social media platforms, it's under the observance. It's under scrutiny of the government. Anybody can be. They can be put on records. Any case. A case can be filed against them if it, in fact, promotes enmity between different groups, or if it is against the interest of the nation. Okay, and this is one side. And another is we have provision in Indian Penal Code regarding defamation also. Section 499 IPC talks about defamation.
Yes.
So whoever by words or maybe by like on the medium of social media writes or maybe draws or anything that is actually against the interest or against any particular person, it is considered to be defamatory, and therefore a case can be filed against that person. Right, and there is something called as criminal intimidation that is also covered under IPC. But when it comes to hate speech, there is a major lacuna in Indian Penal Code. So this is a challenge that need to be addressed. And
so how can this? How can we tackle this problem? Do we need separate laws which are much more stringent in nature, or an independent regulatory authority that could serve the purpose?
See, more to the legal framework that I would propose is, technology can counter technological menace, because there are softwares I've come across wherein untruthful content or untruthful statements can be detected. So that can be put in use, and government machinery can, in fact, borrow all these novel ideas and put in practice. So that is one way of countering such menace. And another way is to like whoever comes with a fake news, or whoever comes with a speech, or maybe any content that is in fact against, I mean, in fact, spreading hatred, that person's message could be flagged. In fact, we can understand that who is the author of that particular content. So that is another way of putting a check on any messages or any tweets or any post on the Facebook, so that we can easily identify who is the author, who is the perpetrator of that particular message. So that is, so technology, basically technology is one way to counter the technological menace. Legally, I've already stated very clearly that our provisions are very archaic. Even Information Technology Act has got a lot of provisions, but most of the words that are used in those sections are not not defined properly.
Perhaps because, when
even-
the IT Act was adopted way back in 2008, then the challenges were very, very different. Now, looking at the 2021 problems, Mr. Bhattacharjee, the problems in the current scenario where we have multiple internet intermediaries like Facebook, and also a lot of, other e-com players who have not just enormous presence today, but also they wield a lot of power in terms of, disseminating information, sort of also disrupting or giving alternate opinion, framing alternate public opinion as well. So if we look at it from that angle, the challenges, the present day challenges are very, very different. So what is the best way forward? As I asked Mr. Sundaram as well, do we need to make our acts much more stringent, or an independent regulatory body, or as he suggested, technological upgradation is the answer to this problem?
Yeah, in fact, it's a combination of all three. I just heard Mr. Sundaram on the technology aspect. Now, I can just say that, being associated with the technology front now more than 2-3 decades, I can see that, nothing from a technology solution can be foolproof, because one of the most important issue of internet technology that remains unsolved is attribution. You can never be able to always be certain that a particular content emanated from a particular device. Even the metadata can also be fudged with. The spoofing and everything has always been happening. So while as much of technology we use to counter this and catch and everything, like today also you would have seen how Google has been approached by Delhi police to give the actual location and IP address from where the toolkit that has been circulating, internationally around the current farm issues have gone on. But by and large, many times, the actual perpetrator or the actual IP might not be gathered. So that could become a severe miscarriage of justice.
Yes.
So hence, along with as much of technology solutions you have, you also have to see that, your laws are quite comprehensive. They are, being able to encompass the extent to which technology has moved, and by and large able to grasp the whole issue when it comes from a legal point of view. Here in this case, you have the IT Act, an amended act. By and large, it tried to cover every aspect at that point of time, but there are many issues that have come up in the last few years, particularly even around technology development, as well as the kind of functions and usage that an individual does. So this itself needs a certain coverage from a legal point of view, and the IT Act amendment, I think, should not be very far away, because already some discussions are on, at the governmental level. As far as the regulation is concerned, now, all this time you would have seen that, a kind of a self-regulation ecosystem has been followed, that even the larger issue of keeping the social media, platforms to be able to deal with whatever content it flows, by and large, till it, was kind of a scenario that needed to be flagged and needed intervention of the criminal department or the law enforcement. it has continued. But nowadays, what happens is that in a very short span of time, a rumor, a hate content, and everything, they spread all around. And in this particular case around Twitter, you have seen that how in international forget only the artists and everything. So many politicians in so many countries are now trying to take up this whole point about what is happening in India when they have no jurisdiction, where they cannot interfere in the sovereign interests of a nation. And all this is happening because primarily it's the social media that is spreading. So how do you particularly handle this? So you have to have a very strong regulatory mechanism, and while the government has been very strict even this time, or even if you remember, a few months back in the Facebook and WhatsApp cases, but the enormity of the issue and the propensity with which it is spreading, to so many different places, to so many different interest groups, where terrorists, to anti-nationals, to all kinds of propagandists, using the medium to create a kind of an unstable scenario.
Yes.
So many things have been floating around in the last few weeks around what's happening in the country. I shudder to think that if same thing is done for some other countries, and how will they react?
That's exactly my point, that why do these platforms have different rules for different countries, and in fact they are governed by their own rules. Why is it not that they are compelled to abide by the law of the land? One hindrance that the law enforcement agencies often face is the lack of evidence, because they do not cooperate with these agencies. The best excuse is that our servers are based outside India. So just to simplify it, if we are, looking at a strong regulatory mechanism, the first thing will be, how can we compel these platforms, these companies, to base their servers in the country? That perhaps will be the first step.
Yeah, that has been an intent, of the government, Tina, as you would have noted. When our discussions, even with the US, has also been going in that direction, where when we brought in the data protection, the personal data protection bill in Parliament, December 2019, and now, of course, it's under Meenakshi Lekhiji's committee looking at it. There we have a provision about this, local servers, and how do you keep the content. And of course, everyone tries to give arguments about, why in a technology ecosystem you do not need to really do that. But then this is something that is in our own interest. It's a country today with 75 crore internet users, and the way at pace at which Digital India is spreading and more people are getting in, we have to ensure that we do not always have a digital system in the country which is flagrated with all kinds of nonsensical as well as hate content and all. So
Absolutely.
We have to ensure that, and I think with this new Biden administration, one has to have this discussion. All the discussions around the trade issues with US also had this element, and I think we have to ensure that we get our own. We have these companies, entities having the servers in India. We haven't been a bad country since 1982. Texas Instruments used our base, to have their servers and all. And over these years, all these IT companies, Indian IT companies who have become giants in their own field, they have always followed all the service level agreements that they have done. So we, as a nation, with so many companies doing so well in the services and the IT sector, they have always given a confidence to the world. So I think we should be pushing this so that some of these things have to happen more from a push from the government and from a legal necessity than always, depending upon this platform, because they are getting mightier day by day. The big tech, as you call them, they are under severe scrutiny even in the US.
That's why data protection, data privacy of users becomes all the more important. Mr. Sundaram, one last comment from you. Can the data protection bill help us, solve some of these problems that we are facing as far as the social media platforms are concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. We want that data protection bill to be, made an act. Because the reason is, if you consider the WhatsApp policy, recent changes that they brought. In fact, the WhatsApp can in fact share the customers' data to Facebook and other platforms. So therefore, the point is WhatsApp's updated privacy policy is in fact against the right to privacy of any citizen of India, which is in fact a fundamental right. So therefore, that need to be even. I think if Section 5 of this data protection bill, which prohibits such transfer. They can't transfer our personal data to any corporates. So therefore, once that is set place, definitely such issues won't come. And this issue is not there in European countries because they have data protection laws. Indians, in India, we have this issue. That's why most of the people are, migrating to other platforms like Signal and iMessaging and other stuff. So that is again a minuscule population. Because if you consider the entire population of India, most of the people don't even know what are the updates or what are the amendments they brought in their privacy policy in WhatsApp. So awareness building is the major task that we have when it comes to data protection. So India's dearth of data protection law also means that there is no relief that a user can get in case of a breach or a misuse of data. We don't have any, mechanism how to actually, get a relief. So therefore, a particular specific authority, a competent authority should be there who can, in fact, address these grievances. And we don't want that archaic laws. We don't
Obviously,
want that,
efforts in this regard are underway, and we're all hopeful that the bill becomes an act very, very soon. And all these problems that both our panelists have pointed out are resolved very, very soon. I'm running short of time. Thank you to both my guests for joining us on the program today and putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. Pleasure having you on the program. So with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Discussion Today. Let me remind our viewers that just in case you missed the television broadcast of our program, you can also watch it online on YouTube. And you can also send in your feedback and suggestions about our program as well. Thank you for your time.